Okay, so September 15th, I'm Mark Sheridan, and you can see my email address there. We're here with John Paul Andre, and you can see John's address there as an email address. Contact us anytime. Of course, Murray Lincoln is in the background doing the heavy lifting around getting all of this on YouTube for us. So thank you to Murray as well. We're going to start off with just kind of open for questions. We'll talk about the virtual show. We'll do the book review. Let John have some time talking about base design, and then I'll, if there's some time left, I'll show you what I've completed on the mechanical horse that I'm working on, and give you any tips on that. Okay, so let's start by just kind of opening it up for any comments or questions from the gang. Just open up the floor, and anybody has a comment or question, that'd be great. Murray, we were on a Zoom call this week, and you were talking about looking for magazine articles. Would you like to take a minute and just chat about that?
I sure would, and I would like to ask you as members of this group tonight, and maybe the ones that are going to be watching it later on, we'd love to hear a story from you. It doesn't have to be very long, but pictures of your carving, what you went through to develop it, some of the obstacles you faced, and presenting it so the rest of the world can see. What we're hoping to do with the True North Caricature Carvers is to be able to encourage other people to get involved with it. So if it's something that you face, and you know the struggles you've had, others probably are going to have that also. So just be an encouragement to them. So we need content for the magazine. The fact is that most of our content is based around the fact that we have shows in the OWCA, different places. And so far this year, the only show that we've had is the one that with the Carvers were involved with, along with the wildfowl and wildlife group of people up in Kitchener-Waterloo. And then from there, we had just recently had the show at Bob Cajun with a Kawartha carving show. So we get lots of pictures out of that. So we're looking at probably putting the magazine the magazine may be quite a bit larger than it is normally, but putting both the summer and the fall together. That way, when it comes out at the end of September, 1st of October, it'll cover both areas. But the pictures content is about the only thing we've got from our different shows that we've been to. So we're looking for people to give real life stories and feature maybe tell a story for us about what the True North Caricature Carvers group has meant to you, what you picked up from it, some of the ideas. And I think with that, we'd probably insert that along with what Mark is going to possibly be writing for us, something about what we've done in this group and some of the things that he's witnessing take place. So I think those together, Mark, would be a great addition to the magazines. People do really appreciate the articles when it's a real life story one, not just a story about something what I thought about or somebody other did, but stories of ordinary people carving ordinary things that become extraordinary at what they're doing. Okay.
Great. Okay, and so I'll do that for you. I'll provide Murray with kind of the general view, 10,000-foot view of the True North Caricature Carvers. But if you, as individuals, if you want to send Murray a few of your photos and whether they're photos that you're putting into this competition or the last competition or ones you just have, you know, for the last couple of years sitting in your shop, send that off to Murray with a little blurb about how you approach it and how you're enjoying it, and that'd be really helpful.
One thing I thought would be helpful, Mark, is if we had them be brave enough to submit something they first carved, square head and all, to what they progressed to today. Yeah. That would be a great encouragement to everybody. So if you need information about writing it, if you could send me an email and ask for the information about that to the president at Woodcarver Association, you'll be at the edge of the end of the show tonight. You'd be able to pick that up. So, and murray.lincoln@gmail.com is the other one that you can send to. Okay.
When do you need this for, Murray? When do you need this for? When?
As soon as you can. We'll probably be, we put the magazine is being put together right now, so it would be before the third week or fourth week probably of September. before the end of the month. That would be helpful. We'd slide a bit over because we can still add something to and squeeze things in, but it would be helpful if it's by the end of September, it would be helpful.
Okay, thanks, Marie. So let me go back to the screen share. You should see that now. And what we'll do is take a look at the virtual show again. So, oh boy. Okay, so I won't go through all of this again, but you know, just a couple of points. We're looking for up to 2 carvings per person to be accepted. Try to send in at least 3 photos because we're going to be using that for judging. If you send in more photos, that's great. But at least 3 photos. Just about anything is welcome. Human and animal figures, mythical, realistic, rough outs, anything that you had help with, it's all good. We'll judge based on the number of carvings that we have in. There'll be a first, second, and third awarded in each of novice, intermediate, and open. We're hoping to have 5 or more carvings entered in each class, and that'll give us the opportunity to have a first, second, and third. And you can see there, if we have 3 carvings or less, what the prizes will be, 4 and 5 carvings. And the most fun of it all is the judges' critique. So we'll do that on our Thursday, October 20th meeting. And keep in mind that you know, this judges' critique is all about just a bunch of friends having fun together. You know, it's really about celebrating caricature carving and the kind of improvements each of us are making individually. So it's just a fun activity. It's not anything scary at all. First place winners in each of those classes, we're going to get a 1-year membership, and we are also going to be sending certificates to first, second, and third. So so that'll be done after the judging. All carvings will show up on our OWCA website, as well as in the magazine that Murray was just referring to. So Daniel was asking, what are the dates? We thought that everyone should have their carvings entered by October 7th. It's not tragic if they're not here October 7th. If we're judging October 20th, just make sure that you give John and I a week and a half or so to get together. It actually takes some time for John and I to do this. We don't take it lightly. We take a real good look at things and usually take 2 or 3 passes at it until we get it to the point where we think it's right. So just give us a little bit of time. If you can get it on October 7th, that's great. If you can, it's not the end of the world. Maybe just give me a heads up that something's coming on a certain date, okay? Okay, any questions about any of that so far? Anybody wants to raise? Okay, well, we have a bunch of really nice carvings that have been sent in, and what I'm going to do is just highlight those and give people an opportunity to talk about it if they choose to. So Harvey sent in this particular carving. Harvey, did you want to say a little about it?
Well, it's based on something very similar that I received after my brother died. They didn't give me flowers, but they gave me this, and I started to copy it. And that's why I did it.
But was it a carving, Harvey?
It was no porcelain.
Well,
And so our family likes to fish. And we actually have 2 brothers, but they could only find one with 2. So it's just a reminder. So I thought I would do it.
so how did you go about doing that? Tell us about the type of paint you used and that type of stuff.
I carved it, and then the type of paint, acrylic paint, and clear coat over that. I'm not that good at painting, and I'm not that good with, you know, knowing my paints, etc. But I got as close as I could. Those are real rocks and sand, which kind of a sandy thing on the surface of it. And copper for the handle of the pail. And there are fish inside the pail. For the bobbin, it was just simply a wooden bead that I drilled a hole in. I didn't drill a hole, but I piece of wood in. It looked like a floater, and that's on the fishing pole is just a twig.
Nice. Is the head
Yeah.
separate? Are the heads separate?
No, they're not.
The one piece? Nice. Nice job.
And the sand, how did you get the sand to adhere to the base?
How did I do that? I glued it with just ordinary glue,
Just like
Kind of-
white, the carpenter's glue or
kind of
something like
white carpenter glue, yes.
that? Mhm.
It
Oh,
was
that's great.
just an
Harvey.
experiment.
Turned out well. Any questions for Harvey?
Question about the rods and the reel, or no, I guess there's no reel there, so something else, but the rod made out of.
It's just a twig that I took off a tree. Took the bark off it, and that's how I did it. I was a little green, some of it, so I bent it a little bit just to make it more like it. Had trouble with the arms, but I got them.
I like the movement in the legs. The legs are like each one has a foot lifted up. Looks like they're stepping forward or walking. I like that. I like that. It's really good movement there.
And you notice what the one on the left has? His hand?
I can't see it, no. Ice
An
cream?
Ice cream cone.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Any comments or questions for Harvey? Okay, thanks for sending that in, Harvey.
You're welcome.
Now this is yours as well. So say a little bit about this one.
Well, it's just simply that when I finished getting him done, he looked rather grumpy. And I just had a piece of wood and I decided to stick his head in it. And just wanted to be known as Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky.
Is the hat separate or was it all carved as one piece?
I'm on here
The
now.
hat is separate.
I can still, like, if you need to follow for me, try not to, but if you need to, it's fine, okay? Love you.
Love you
Just
too,
want-
Dave.
Yeah, you just want to go on
No, I
mute.
guess I wasn't muted.
We love you too.
Okay, any questions or comments for Harvey on this one? Okay, and then I think this, yep, this is yours as well, Harvey.
Yeah, well, I got this out of a book. Of course, by the time I finish it, it's never quite like it wasn't a book. But I haven't got a body or anything on them. I haven't figured out the proportions on that one. So I just made it and just went with it. You said you wanted to see some of my carvings, so I just sent it.
Good. No,
Very
that's great.
nice.
Any comments for Harvey on this one from the game? And then this is the
Okay.
last one from you, Harvey.
And that was just another one I did. Had a little trouble. The wood wasn't as good as it should have been. And that caused me problems, but I got around it. And well, what's holding the head is actually a wooden spoon I made. Couldn't figure out what else to put it in to hold it up, so.
Well, maybe just a couple of things to point out on this for everybody else as we work on these things. Like one of the things that strikes me about this one is the size of the nose and the ears. I think on this one you really got that right.
Yeah.
So as people are working on their carvings right now, this is a good example of the caricature exaggeration of, in particular, the nose and the ears. Okay, any other comments or questions for Harvey? Okay, thanks, Harvey, for sending those in.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
And Alec, I think I saw you on the line.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Really well. Why don't you talk about
Willie.
this carving?
Willie. Okay. This was, like Murray was saying, if you have a carving that you did a long time ago and you're not happy with it, redo it. So I had carvings sitting up above me. There's a few up there. And the one that I didn't really care for was the one I did a Willie. This was done in 2014. If you want to put it on share, I can show you it, Mark.
Yeah, we see you right now there, Alec, if you're
Oh,
just
you can see
holding
me
it up.
right now?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, I don't see it on the screen, but this is the.
Right there is perfect, right there, yeah.
Okay, see, the arm was never right. And like, I just didn't care for a lot of the things on this one, so I wanted to redo it. So taking tips from Mark on one of our Zoom meetings, I added the arms on this. Like, I generally do everything in one chunk. So these arms are an add-on, which made it great to fit the guitar to it. So thanks for that. And I don't know if you know much about Willie, but him and the Grand Ole Opry don't get along too well. So this is supposed to be the circle of wood from the old Opry. So it's just a little dig at them, that's all.
Yeah. Alec, I think you really make a good point about that whole notion of putting in the arms separately.
Yeah.
Really, it's not critical all the time, but really critical when the hands have to end up in a certain spot, like in your model here.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good lesson that you taught there on the Zoom. I forget which one it was, but I definitely paid attention.
Oh, that's good.
Did a good job on the arms and the
Thank you.
shoulders. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing one of his smokes.
He was supposed to be entertaining, and I didn't have that type of smoke anywhere in the house. So
Couldn't model
you
it.
know, you have to have a model to carve from. So.
Yeah, that's right. The strings and all of the tuning mechanisms, what are they made from, Alec?
The tuners are just doweling. The strings are fishing line. It's an 8-pound test. And I just drilled holes and I have wooden toothpicks, the round ones, and I jam them in with that and glue them. And then the tuners are made from the doweling I just cut and glued on the back. And I painted them silver.
Nice carving.
Really good. Any questions for Alec? And this is yours as well, Alec.
Yeah, this is a Chris Hemmick. He does everything in one chunk, like he doesn't put any add-ons on his. And he's on Pinterest, or you can look him up on the web. And I saw this one, I thought, boy, that'd be a tough one to do. Generally, you do a front face, and then you do a side face, like a profile. This one, you can't do that. You got to do all 4 sides. You have to have a pattern for all 4 sides. And as you're carving, you have to pay attention to each side. So this, to me, was a difficult carving to do because you can't just do a leg, because the leg is up around his chin. His foot is around the chin, and it's just a lot of hard areas to get at. but it was interesting.
How would a clay model do? That probably would have helped, quite a bit.
I have clay here, but I toy around with it sometimes, but I'm not happy with it. I would rather listen to the sound of the wood being cut as
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
go.
Let it surprise you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions or comments for Alec? Okay. And this next one was sent in by Steve. I'm not sure Steve's on the line tonight. Are you on, Steve? I guess not. So Steve sent in a nice carving here, and you can see we got a little preacher there with his best gal hat and the foot up on a suitcase. Really a nice little carving.
Yeah.
Again, some nice motion in this one, John, you know, with the hand up. So it's something, again, we can all just kind of note and as
The
we do
legs.
our own carvings. Yeah.
I kind of think when I see this, that he has a lot more there that he should probably discuss with us. Because it looks as if the preacher's got a bare belly, his shirt's out, and he's hiding something in his coat. He's preaching, he's a nut hose, but he's also got a floozy beside him. So that's really got a lot in that story.
You're reading a lot into this, Murray. We're getting right.
We better mute him soon.
Yeah.
Having been a preacher, it is definitely one that caught my interest.
Yeah. Steve sent a second one in that I thought was cute, the Ozark Idol contest here. So you can see a lot happening here. All the musicians, a couple of animals, somebody collecting some coins. I'd like to know from Steve how this sign was made. It almost looks like a thin piece of wood, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting carving. Any comments on these carvings from the gang? He sent this one in as well, which I thought was interesting. That, you know, interesting job here painting the goggles to make it look like there's water inside the goggles and a fish is in there. So okay, is John LeMay on the line tonight?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thanks, John. Would you comment on this carving?
Sure. I think this was one of my most fun carvings to do. I had no plans or anything with it, just came out of my head. Saw a number of different alligator features in Louisiana when I was there and decided to carve this. This is about 13, 14 inches tall. And it's one solid piece. It was a lot of fun to carve. And it was because of all the different shapes, it was actually hard to see what it was that I was carving because I had no pattern or nothing. So
Did you draw a pattern first, John?
no, I drew on the piece of wood. I drew all the different steps. I drew on the wood as I was going along.
Okay. Any comments or questions for John?
Really nice detail, good detail
Thank
on
you.
the tail.
Everything is he's got the scales all over his body. So I burned all those scales in, and then I put about 5 different layers of paint over top of everything so that the burning would still show up on there.
So very light wash you put on so that
That's
so
right.
that it wouldn't cover the burning.
That's right. Yeah.
So was the alligator rubbing his belly, getting ready to eat?
Yeah, that's
story
right.
is?
That's right. So he's got his hand on his belly, so his coat is lifted up there.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice, cute.
And
His
I got
tongue
him up.
hangs out.
I got him standing on one leg on a rock too, because I wanted to make it a little bit more difficult too. So I got him standing on one leg.
Nice.
What's nice also is you have his tongue sticking out or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he's getting
Licky.
ready to eat that fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Maybe a couple of things to point out that I see here that would be, worthwhile to emphasize with everybody as we all work on our individual carvings. This lapel could have been left just very flat, but John took a gouge or scooped it with a knife to give it a nice contour there. Same with the sleeve here, and just take a look at the pattern of the wrinkles. So these are things we've talked about as a group, right? Taking a look at, put on a jacket, stand in front of a mirror, take a look at the way the wrinkles need to go, and just put in a few wrinkles just to give it a little bit more character. So, okay, and John, this is yours as well.
Yes. So this is I saw this on a float in British Columbia, and so I took a picture of that. So these stood about 12 feet tall on the float. But so I took a picture of that, and I thought that might be a really cool carving. So that was a lot of fun too.
It's interesting that it's not on a base and you can move it around and never get tired of it. Eh?
Yeah.
Sometimes the donkey leads the cowpoke, and sometimes the other way around.
So the shovel on the donkey there is part of the, like, it's not a separate piece. So all the rope that you see around the donkey, that's all carved right into the wood. So nothing is a separate piece there.
Nice job.
Nice work. Very
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you.
Good movement again.
Yeah, see there, he's trying to pull the donkey, right?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, any other questions or comments for John? Thanks for sending those in, John.
Thank you.
Okay, Bob, I got a couple of slides here with your cowboy on it. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I started out, this was out of a magazine. It was a Gunslinger. But when I was doing the hat and the head, I couldn't get a good hat on it. So I ended up cutting the hat right off his head. And then I did the hat separate. And then I put a dowel in it, just like you guys showed me. And then I gave me a chance to thin out his face a little. His face was a little fat, so I thinned it out quite a bit to what it is in that photo. So other than that, it's just the way it is.
Are you, is this what it looks like now, Bob, or have you got it
No.
painted now?
You know, I have a picture of it here. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but
Hold on, I'll, can everybody see that? You'll have to hold it up a little higher, Bob. There.
Bob, you need
There.
to keep talking so it'll show,
Okay.
otherwise it's just Mark.
okay. Anyway, I thinned out the face and I put the hat, as I say, done separately. And I just started painting it there now. And then when I thinned his face out, they give him more of a neck. He's still hunched over, but it gives him more of a neck. So it looks a little better now. Anyway, that's about it.
I like it hunched, how he's hunched over like that. That looks really good. It's good movement in his, he's getting ready to draw, you could tell.
Any questions or comments for Bob?
The hat was much better to do when I was off his head.
Okay, maybe just a comment on this one for me that might be helpful to everybody. And John kind of talked about the motion of it, but you notice like one leg is a little further out than the other. I don't know whether Bob intended that, but it just gives it that much more interest. And just the shape of the hands too. Really like the shape of the hands, the way those turned out. So again, just something to think about as everybody's completing their carvings. These are all things we've talked about along the way around getting motion and getting points of interest in. So thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Furtis, do you want to talk about this one?
Nice.
Yeah, so this is just a hillbilly. I follow Roger Strigal on YouTube, so he does a lot of hillbillies. So kind of looked at his carving and just started carving this hillbilly. Did the head separate, the hat separate, the arms are separate, the hands are separate, and just glued it all up. He stands about 9 inches tall with the base, and I finished him with the Howard feed and wax. It's all acrylic paint, watered down. So yeah, it was quite fun to carve.
The fitting of the hat is perfect there first. You did a really good job with the fit.
Thank you. Yeah, I put the dowel in that you guys have talked about. So yeah.
Yeah, you did a really good job in this one.
Thank you.
I like the eye and the side view. You can see the white of the eye.
Yeah, Roger always emphasizes like his carvings are always looking on the side, so that's what I kind of did. It just gives him a little bit of character.
Very nice. Any other comments or questions for Furtis? Okay, and this is also yours.
Yeah, so this is a bust I was working on, and I did it for an intern who worked with me. He left, he went back to school. So again, the hat I did separate. I showed it to you in the last meeting, and you guys gave me some tips about the hat and the ears. So I tried to get that
big
in.
improvement.
And I was kind of concerned about the collar, but came out okay, the collar. And for the buttons, I just kind of drill holes and put in the small dowel in it and carve it down. The base is separate, the head is separate, the head is separate. So it's about 7 inches tall. Same acrylic paint, and finish with Howard feed and wax.
That feed and wax does a nice job, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments for Furtis? Okay, thanks very much. And Jerry sent us in this one. Jerry, are you on the line tonight? I guess not. So Jerry sent us in a nice Santa carving. Nice simple base, nice simple pose.
I like the floor. On
The
base.
wood floor, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
It really pops out, eh?
Mhm. One of the things, John, that you've talked a lot about is, the depth of the eye. And I saw this in many of the carvings at Furtis's is the most recent, really good job of getting some depth in the eye to get it well past the bridge of the nose. The only way to get the nose to poke out is to have a deep eye socket. And so, Jerry's done that really well here. And you saw the same thing in Furtis's as well.
I really like the way his beard and the ball on his hat and that. And I like that. It's the carving part, very nice, and it almost looks good enough to eat. It's just
Yeah.
it's just the way it's. I think he did a nice job.
Nice flow in the hair, yeah.
Very nice. Jerry also sent in the golfer here.
And again, the base is good too, eh? Like the habitat of the
Yeah, I wish Jerry was on the line. I'd be interested in what that grass is. Does anybody have any thought on that?
Have to go back to Willie for the grass comment.
Yeah, his is all burnt. No, I'd
Good
be
faith.
interested to see how he made that grass. I don't know how he what that is. Obviously, something's glued down. I just don't know what it is.
I wonder if that's flocking.
Yeah, it could. I guess it could be, Alec. Yeah. It's hard to tell from the photo. It looks a little coarse though, doesn't it? Unless maybe he layered it a few layers.
It's good face, good mouth, good teeth there.
Yeah. And the plaid too, the plaid vest.
Yeah.
Something I've never had the courage to try is plaid. It looks good. All right. Any other comments on Jerry's carvings? Okay. Murray, talk about this one.
Again, this is the same as Alex did. I think it's probably the Chris Hammock is the originator of the idea. And again, the same thing that you have to have 4 poses drawn to give you the detail on 4 different sizes. And the difficulty with this, again, I don't usually do. I did it a long time ago, 1 block carving. And this is cut from 1 block and then carved in around the detail and so on. I usually add the arms and legs and so on separate, like Mark talked about. One thing that happens with block of basswood when you go this small, the character is about 5 inches tall, roughly. And it's great when you do the top and you start working down on the legs and you get down to the lower leg and you suddenly realize that you have a lot of bendability. You know that it's going to crack, and you know if it falls over, it's going to break. So I've done bone surgery on him. I inserted 1/8 inch dowels into every extra piece sticking out. The thigh, the calf, the shoe, and the lower calf, the one on the base, comes up from the bottom of the base into his leg. Fortunately, I was able to hit right in the center of the thing, and that was fortunate only because it's only by luck you do that. And he's stiffened up quite a bit, but again, the type of caricature is with the overemphasis on the pose and so on like that, you're really limiting yourself to what you can do with this character. After I had the base, when you can see on the left-hand side, the picture, the piece of basswood is fairly thin when you get down to define his shoe out of the top of that. So you know that that base is probably going to crack too and break pieces off. So what I did is I had another basswood plank. This left over from a dollhouse that was being constructed. And it was the size, right size for the thing. So I glued it on. So the base has the grain running from top to bottom through it. So you'll see that's where the break would be. But placing the plank on the bottom of it and snugging it up against it, gluing it, and then doing the carving and so on like that, you have a pretty solid base now. It's not going to break. And with the pose has the left arm is right up tight against his body. He's got a hold of a ball inside of his glove. And when he's called, like Alex has got the definition on the front of his carving called winding up. That's what he's doing. Now, the area that I'm going to be is not quite completely finished. I have an intention of having 5 of these characters done, of the 5 poses of pictures that Chris Hammock has offered. And I intend to put a blue jay sticker on there, you know, like a little lapel and a little character in front of his hat, the logo. But that is going to be maybe. That was something you were doing, Marcus. Some of the small characters, you do the drawing and then color it and then put it on as a decal almost, is it? How did you do that?
No, I typically just paint, like I'll do a hand drawing on a piece of paper and use that just to trace onto the wood, and then I'll paint right on the wood.
Okay.
Yeah, That's why I've done that.
And simplify the logo a little bit because it won't have anything. And there'll be no name written on the front because you can't possibly get in there to do that with this character. But on the back of it, what the numbers will be on the back of it is the birth date of each one of my grandsons. I've got 5 grandsons, so there's 5 poses. And eventually they'll get these when Grandpa passes on or whatever, after I finish showing them.
Very nice.
Now, one
Now,
thing,
Murray,
just to mention,
sorry,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing here is when you're doing the cap like this, of course, this thing is thinner. It's another relatively weak place. So the way to get around that weakness is to leave it thick up just above his eyebrows and his eyes and make the edge thin. So the feeling is when you look at it that it is a thin cap, but it's not, it's quite a thick beak to the cap. And the finish on it is painted with different layers on it. And then after that, I used a antique wax that I get from one of the craft stores here, and paint that on and then rub it off. You don't put it all over, but put it on the areas where the creases are and where the joints, we want to emphasize that part, and then rub it off. I can't really see it on this picture, but on his back left side, he has a pouch. It'd be on the right side of the picture, just above my name. There's a tobacco tin in his back pocket. This, when you see the detail of it, you're up here close, you hold it, you can see the tobacco tin. It's a typical char. Anyway, that's my character there.
Very good. Any questions for Murray? Okay, that's really unique what you described by drilling out and putting in a piece of hardwood. That's a unique way of doing it. So something to
Not
learn from.
recommended.
Well, something to learn from though. Eh?
I don't like carving from a block at all.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks, Murray.
I wished he'd have been pitching in today's game.
Yeah. John, I think you're on the line. Did you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, this project I started about 6 months ago and just pulled out of the box and thought I'd try to get some more work done on them. So yeah, I did a little work today on them. So I fixed that right eye that wasn't carved yet, and the nose needed a little work, so I worked on that, worked on the mouth. I'll show you the sketch I'm working off of. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you see the ball on the end of the nose? It's really part of why I love its look. So my nose was missing that. So I actually worked on it today. Can you see that?
Just hold it a little closer to the camera, John. You'll have to speak.
Okay, can you see that now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I kind of worked on the nose, worked on the eye, kind of made that mouth a little more like a bird. And I got to start, the hair is a real big thing about him, so I got to finish the hair. But I'd like your comments to see what else I can do to improve them.
Okay, comments from anyone? John, I'm a big proponent of adding wood. And if you make a real clean cut on something, as you know, and you can even use that lead or graphite process to get a real tight fit.
Yeah.
The picture you showed of Lyle there, he has a real sweeping front, the front of his hair, the bangs of his hair really sweep upwards. I just wonder if you were to, this is your thought, this is your carving, you can do what you want, but I'm just wondering what it would look like if you took just a chunk of wood out like that, put in a larger chunk, glued it in place, and now give them a real pronounced hairline line, almost as far or maybe beyond his nose.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That might be an interesting thing to try. Take a look at it and see how you feel about it. But gluing in something like that's actually fairly easy to do.
Yeah,
And make a nice tight fit. You'll never see it. You'll never notice it.
yeah, that's a good idea. I might try that. Also, I'm gonna probably stick it into a piece of wood for a bust, so I can carve. He usually wears a bow tie or something that really helps to identify him. So I'll probably do that as well.
John, you might want to speak up. Like you've done busts and you've used ties. I don't know. You might want to speak up on what John O'Brien might add from that standpoint.
Well, I'm not too sure, right? Like the neck has to be a lot skinnier for sure, and define the jawline a little bit better. But
what I'm thinking, John, is the bust that I've seen you do with a necktie that leads down to the base. Maybe just
Right.
flash one of those up.
I was
Get that
thinking
closer to the camera.
I was thinking something like this.
Right.
you see mine, Mark?
A little lower. Okay.
You'll have to speak, John. John
Is
Paul.
that any better?
Yeah, I like the tie. Sticks out like that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So that might be a thought too for John O'Brien. That
Yeah.
might be a thought too. As you think of the bow tie, maybe there's something you can do to just extend that down to the base.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any additional comments or questions for John?
John, if you could possibly, what John Paul mentioned a moment ago about the jawline, when you look at the right-hand picture, if you're to define the jawline and try to make the neck, emphasize the neck as being really small or with an Adam's apple, something of that sort. Right now, the neck is not quite finished in my way of thinking. It should be cut in further at the back of the hair and around the chin, and then the jawline from the ear down. It would be even sillier looking because it's got a skinny neck with that funny big head.
Yeah, I agree. I actually drew that on my model here as we were talking earlier, or as I was watching the other one. So yeah, I needed to have that jawline pronounced in a better neck. So I kind of drew that on there, but it definitely needs to be improved. Thank you.
It's looking good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Thanks, John.
Mhm.
Okay, Baz, do you want to talk about your carving?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about this one. This one is actually not going to go in the virtual show in October because I did this in 2005. I had the pleasure of taking a course here in Ottawa from Pete Leclerc himself. I did this little guy in 2005. So when your note came out to enter another virtual show, I said, I really enjoyed doing that carving. So I said, maybe I'm going to try to do another one. But I decided I have one of his book. So I decided to go ahead and start trying to do the caricature that is in his book. And that's my progress up to now, following the book.
Nice.
So I'm having fun doing it. I still have a lot of work to do on it. I find that I have to dig further into the hat so I can actually expose his eyes more and his eyebrows. So I have a lot of thickness remaining in the hat. So I think I'll be able to go under there. But I need to work on that. So, and I'm from learning from you, listening to your advice and so on, I have to work the eyes a bit more and cut them in, and looking at the book and also listening to what you've said before. I'm trying to combine both and working on this bust. So I'm having fun doing it. So that's my approach this time around. Only a bust this time.
Coming along good.
Yeah, thanks. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions for Baz? Really like that face. Really like that face, the way that's coming. That's looking really good.
Just thank you. Just by the way, I don't know for you guys out there if anybody had a chance to work with Pete Leclerc or know about him, but he's not that well. He's been struggling for the past few years. He's not teaching anymore. He just goes to his regular carving club, and he's losing a bit of his memory and things like that. But he's still carving almost every week. He's carving, but a great fellow, and he taught a lot of us around here, around the carving field. So anyway, I'm proud to be able to continue some of his carving, and I have 3 of his books, and they're all autographed from him. So might as well do a carving from his book.
Thank you, Baz.
No problem.
Okay, I think I saw Larry Whitehead on the line tonight. Larry, did you want to talk about this carving? Okay, well, Larry sent this one in, and this is one of his Halloween decorations, and you can see it's hanging from the ceiling in a very fine, probably a fishing line or something, but you know, really well done. A lot of movement in that carving. Really nice job. Again, like as everybody thinks about their carving, think about the flow of things and the wrinkles they would produce. So.
Larry is on, well, he is in the group right now, whether you're able to get in to talk right now. Larry, give it a try again.
There's a possibility it might be an audio issue or something.
No, he's got the audio on now, so give it a try.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, another nice carving from Larry here. And again, you know, I think the things I point out on this one is as people are still working on their carvings, is it's all about exaggeration, right? So you can just see this huge ear, huge nose. Baz, this almost looks like the same kind of a style as what you showed us with Pete Leclerc. You know, it's just a real interesting style. Nice deep eye. See the bags underneath the eye. So a lot to learn from that carving. So thanks for that, Larry. And this is his Halloween setup. Now, John Paul is in the midst of making all kinds of ornaments, so he's probably going to steal all these, Larry. Okay, Eric, are you on the line tonight? Okay, so Eric's not on the line. He sent us in this, and a lot of really nice detail in this carving. Nice simple base, nice looking carving. Okay, thanks everybody. Those are all terrific carvings, and it's so nice to see everybody is having fun with what they're doing and making some improvements individually. So that's what it's all about, right? So thanks for sending those in. And Murray, why don't we hand it over to you now, and you can do your thing on book review. Do you?
This is the book from the Caricature Carvers of America, CCA. And when you put that into your Google search, you've got to spell the whole word out. Otherwise, you'll get something else in Canada, whatever they are. And Chris Hammock's character on the front of the baseball player is there showing the 5 different poses at the top. But the interesting book, this book is about, you can still get it. It says $36 on Amazon, but it's definitely a good one because it shows in 2015, the 25th year of the CCA, all of the carvers that were involved in the CCA at that time that are official CCA leaders or members. And so what we're looking at when we say that is that they started off way back to 25, would be more than that now, maybe 30 some years ago. And some of the carvers come, they go, they're there and then they're not there. And some die and will go on. But I want to mention in this particular book, as I hold this up, if I can get this the right character in front of it, Eldon Humphrey is the name that you'll see there. And Mark, I don't know if you followed his designs or not, but in this particular book, he has on the other side of the page, the guy with the guitar. A tremendous example of character carving and the way that he's done that kind of work. And can you still see that? I think John Paul coughed me off there, but maybe you can see. This book is about $36 American on Amazon. It could be 40, but there's all the different characters, the people that are in there, and the carvings that they're doing now, all part of that book presentation. Some great ideas, and so it's worth the money. I bought it a few years ago. The baseball players have what caught my eye on the front of it. And again, I wanted to do those for my grandkids because all of them were baseball players. But as I'd say this, in our own Ontario Woodcarver Association, the fellows that helped started in the True North Caricature Carving with Mark and John Paul, I lost his name again, Sullivan, right?
Yeah, Mike.
Mike is quite often down in Florida, and he takes a lot of courses from some of the fellows in the CCA. He's got to know quite a few of them, and at one stage, it looked like he might be invited to be part of it. Eldon Humphreys, the fellow that's the character I showed in that book, he passed away about a year ago. He was the only Canadian that were part of the American group. And so as I say that, probably I'm looking at John Paul would be one of those characters that probably could be in that book, and so would Mark Sheridan. The quality and the extent of carvings and so on that you guys do is something that they're interested in, but I'm not sure. I know that how the invitations go, it's usually because you take a lot of courses from one of them or many of them. They get to know who you are. You do a lot of schmoozing, as Mike said, and then maybe you'll get invited, but maybe not. So I don't think he got invited into it, but that's a good book. And so carving books, earlier about the clerics book, I think those are great ones for all of us to see and know that there's great ideas in there to show you how to do it. But again, what I found in the TNCC is that we are doing just about as much as these CCA guys are, and maybe even more so because of the fact that we're actively engaged in carving and week by week kind of thing. It's not just 25 years ago, but it's now. And so, Mark, you need to be patted on the back, and so does Jean Paul. You guys have done a great job to help us this way.
Well, thanks.
Thank
Murray.
you.
You've been a big part of that too, Murray. So thanks very much. Okay, any questions for Murray on Chris Hammock's book? Okay, thanks, Murray. All right, John, it's over to you, and you're going to talk about just the design of base and some considerations.
Yeah, there's one of my carvings of Santa's workshop, and basically what I'm saying is when I consider my carving, I consider the frame. It's like a picture. You're painting a picture. You want to frame your painting, so I consider my carving, and you want to frame in your carving with a good base, a good like if you had a round base or like a turn base, you want to do it. It's like your frame for your painting. So that's what I do. So this one here is just the Santa's carving the head of the little doll there, and he's the elf's looking at the head, and this guy's looking at the head. So the Santa's cap here is turned this way, so your eye is focused, your focal point is here in Santa. So these are some of the things that I look at when I'm considering the base and putting everything together, and the story, creating a story. So the elves are there waiting for this head to be put on that little girl's little doll dress and doll body. And basically, when you do your carving, consider like think about if it was a painting, you want to frame that painting. So the same thing with a carving, frame your carving. Add nice, good piece of wood, nice piece of wood, or the habitats. If you're a hunter, you want little trees or a little grass, or you can add little characters, a little rabbit behind the, add little things, add to the story, create a story. So that's about it from me. Just anybody else want any questions or ideas or?
Is the base all basswood, John?
This is all pine. Pine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all pine.
That's good.
And the bench and the shelf is all pine. I did a little painting in the background there. You can see that little painting there.
Which you
So-
painted.
It's a nice piece of art, my friend.
Thank you,
Very-
thank you.
Very nice piece of art.
So when you do your carving, you think of a little story behind it, and it shows when you have a little story behind it. You're creating this atmosphere. Something's going on. So think about that when you're putting your story together.
Hey, JP, it's Mike. Can you maybe show some of your necktie bases? That's kind of going in the complete opposite direction of what you're just kind of showing, but it's still really a base.
Yes, yeah. It's the only one I got right here. I don't have a base on it right now, but I had this one in a picture frame. It was like looked like a painting, but I had to use the frame for something else.
But you turn it around back too. You showed it first. Yeah, that's how I'd like to see it, just to see. Okay, I see what you've done. Yeah.
I carved the head, and then I drew the shape onto the necktie, and then I cut it out with a bandsaw, and then I carved it all out.
Yep. Okay. The first time you showed it earlier this evening, I didn't get a good look at it. But yeah, I see how he's done it. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Okay, thanks, John. Any other questions for John in regard to thinking about the base, thinking about the frame of your carving?
Just a short question, John. When you're thinking about the composure of it, like I noticed, Santa's right up front. Is that what you want to show off? Is Santa?
Yeah, like it's a composition, right? You want to. Like my story is he's carving. I always have, like, I did a blacksmith story, and he was hammering on a knife. He was making a carving knife. So I'm always trying to think in carving into my stories. So yeah, that's basically, you think of a story, you write things down. Say if I was doing like Bob Ross. I wrote Bob Ross, and I wrote he likes wildlife, and he likes painting. So I write all these little things down, then I try to combine that story, or the list of stuff that I want included into that composition. So I wrote down Santa, elves, workshop, like the position of this hat. If you look over here, then you're pointing that way again. Everything's pointing that way. The hammer over here is pointing this way. The knife is pointing to the doll. The gift here is coming down here, and it points you back up to your focal point. So that's how I do it.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
John, I had a question.
Yep.
How did you do your chair?
He seated down, but the bottom of the chair is as part of the body.
Okay.
So I carved the bottom to his bottom. And then I put the legs in after. So this is all one piece, the body and the bottom of the chair is one piece, and the arms are separate and the head's separate.
Okay,
The feet and the chair is one, except the legs.
that's good. Thank you.
Yep. I've done it before where I did it without the chair. I did a guy in a canoe. It was hard to set him down properly. Look, so this time I did it with the chair, the bottom of the chair, and his butt, all one piece.
Maybe the other comment I'd make, John, just looking at that particular carving is, as you think of the base in the composition of the whole story, like don't get hung up with everything has to be symmetrical. Everything has to, whatever's on the left side has to match what's on the right side or balance the right side. It makes it a lot more interesting if you do what John did and you have the main character off to one side. And think about that in every approach. Not everything has to be straight and at right angles or balanced left to right. It's a lot more fun if things look a little bit more random.
And so before you do your little composition, make a list. Make a list of what you want to put in your story. And then it comes together a little bit easier when you have a list of things you want in your carving. And then it develops that way. It's a good developing tool.
Okay, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
We're going to finish off by just talking about tips, chips, and tricks. I've got a few slides just to pick up on where we left off in the conversation, a little carving I was making. But does anybody else have anything they want to talk about in terms of tips since the last meeting, something you've tried that you wouldn't mind sharing with the group? Okay, that's fine. But again, keep in mind that we're really looking forward to everybody, having a tip or a technique that they can share. Everybody does things a little bit differently. It doesn't matter whether you've only been carving a week or 20 years. If you're doing something that's interesting to you or something you haven't done before, share it with the group and we'll all learn from it. Last time we talked about this little horse that I was making, a mechanical horse, a little coin operated horse. And I talked about how I used a Forstner bit to actually make rounded impressions in the body and then glued the legs in so that the grain of the legs would be going in the strongest direction. And that's where we left that conversation. Since then, I've done a lot of work on this carving, but one of the things I did was develop the base. And so for the base, of course, I wanted two posts that would fit into the horse. One post would be kind of a hinged post in real life. Of course, it isn't in this case. And the other would be the post that actually reciprocates up and down to make the horse rock. So what I decided to do was a base that wasn't a metal base, that this is like a 1950s or early 60s base that was made out of wood. And so you can see here, I made a little bit of a simulation out of a casing of wood. And what I wanted to talk about on the tip on this particular item is that when you make something that's a box or a crate or a case like this happens to be out of wood, it's a lot of fun to put those lines in where the wood pieces go, but go beyond that. Make sure that you make the wood look a little bit warped. So take your gouge and maybe gouge in a little bit of a depression here so that this plank is proud or raised versus this plank. And then do it again down here, maybe a little bit of depression on this side. And now this is proud, or this rather here is proud of this side here. And it just makes it look a lot more interesting. So I did that all the way around. And I also did it around this area here. I made this look like a post, laminated post that you're a square piece of lumber that would have been used to hold the whole thing together. Then I just took a center punch, and with that center punch, I just used the natural pattern on the base of that center punch to put little impressions in. And so those impressions became the nails. And you can see that in several areas here, certainly along the top. You can see it along the sides as well. And it just makes the carving that much more interesting. So you can imagine you could have done this, have it looking very, very symmetrical, very, very like an engineering drawing, but go at it with your gouge and knives and make sure that the wood now looks warped, that the holes aren't perfectly in the same spot. They're at different depths for the nails. It just makes it a little more interesting to look at. And so when it was put together, that's what it ended up looking like. And what I'll point out here is, you know, for a tip for everybody, you know, John Paul and I have both talked a lot about motion in your carving. And so this would have been just as easy to have the horse parallel to the base, parallel to the floor, but you would have lost all the motion in the carving. And so I had a choice of either having the hind legs down or the front legs down, and I chose the front legs down because I could picture my rider now curled back in this direction, holding onto it almost like a bucking bronco at a rodeo. And so you can see here the notion of, well, the motion here is the rocking is at the most forward position, and it just gives you the impression of this thing's moving along. And then, you know, as John was saying, you start adding things, and in this case, this whole thing is going to go on a broader base. But this platform needed a steel base that it would sit on, and so I just used this is MDF, actually, just a piece of MDF that I cut into a base. Made a little bit of an impression here where the coin-operated box would go. Very simple to use a dowel and make a little box with a little coin. Where you insert the coin here and a little coin return down here. I use that awl again, or that center punch, to make a little impression where the key would go, where the operator would open it up and take all the change out of it. And so that all pretty simple to do. But again, it really adds to the overall effect of the carving by adding these little items in. Just a few more slides. So I'm going to talk next time not next time we're together, I guess the November meeting after our show, I'll talk a little bit more about painting. But here's what I did with this base is I painted it so that it looked like it was well worn, that it was old and well worn. So this has several washes of various tints or degrees of gray in it. And that just gave it a sort of a warm gray machine look to it. I added a lot of yellow ochre and raw sienna to give it a look of sort of wear and dirt. So specifically around here, you see some dirt and some wear, a little bit of light gray brushed on to give it more wear. We've talked about using aluminum tape before, and so, you know, again, this is a tip that I'll offer you is get some of that adhesive backed aluminum tape that you use for HVAC applications for sealing duct work and that type of thing. The adhesive on it is actually quite strong. So you can cut out a piece and you can just burnish it on with the back of a spoon or the back of your fingernail, and it sticks really well. And it just gives a nice chrome look rather than a silver look to it. What I tend to do is, because I don't want a real bright chrome look on something that's supposed to look old, I put a wash or two washes of Payne's gray. And so Payne's gray is a specific color of gray. It's kind of a gunmetal blue gray, but it just knocks out some of the brilliance of that adhesive backed aluminum tape and just gives it a little bit more of a worn, tarnished look. When I did the base, and again, I'll come back and talk about painting of the whole carving in November, but I wanted a red base. So you can see a variety of different reds. Washes were used in this. Again, over those washes, I put the browns, the raw sienna, the burnt sienna to give it a mud and a scuffed look. You can see a lot of scuffing here where you can imagine children's feet were scuffing it on and getting on and off the horse. Again, some aluminum tape here with that Payne's gray to give it a metal look. Pushed in that awl so that or that center part so that you'd have a little of an impression of a bolt there. The base is pretty much black with a little bit of silver showing that it's a metal base that's got, so the black got worn away and you can see through the metal. Again, the browns and the yellow ochre there to give it the effect of some dirt. From a tip standpoint, I wanted to talk a little bit about the painting, and Murray was talking about this earlier as well, about when you're trying to paint something, fairly detailed. So this was painted with a small brush, but no matter how steady your hand is or how fine your brush is, it's really difficult to get a perfect line. I wasn't too worried about it here because I could picture this being painted by some guy in 1950 with too big a brush, and I wanted to make it look like that. But the tip I'd offer you is this. So if you can imagine when this G was painted, you could really only paint one side of the G at a time because you can't really manage the width of the brush. Sometimes you're going to push a little harder on the brush and that stem of the G is going to be a little fatter than what it is at the top. Go ahead and paint that. But then understand that the best control you have over a brush is at the tip. And so come back with the red, and now the red from this side, you can score down that letter and clean up any variation you've had in putting the white in. Similarly, from this side, this opposite side as I'm trying to show, you'd put in red again. And so it's really a matter of you understanding using the tip of the brush rather than the width of the brush to do the painting of lettering. So I hope that was understandable what I tried to describe. And so this is what it looked like after I painted the horse. The horse is, again, I'll talk about this in more detail, but the horse has a variety of different browns in it. As John described before, in the creases or in the shadows, you want a darker brown. So that's what I applied. Certainly, as I got to the ends of the legs, I applied a darker brown. The thing that I'll leave with you, the tip on this that I don't think we've talked about in the past, if you want to make black or a dark gray, like I made this mane and tail, if you want to make it look really nice on a carving, paint it black or paint it a very dark gray, but then go over it in spots with a light gray. And what happens is that black finish all of a sudden looks like a shiny black finish, like almost like a wet hair or a greased hair. And it really makes that black hair look a lot better. And that works equally well if you're, it doesn't have to be just hair. It works equally well if you're doing a suitcase or if you're doing a piece of metal in black. Adding that little bit of gray dry brushing over the top of it really makes it look now like a shiny black area. So just that's just another tip for you. Okay, any questions on any of that? Okay. Well, I think that's a wrap for tonight then. Please keep sending in your please keep working on your carvings. If you haven't completed one yet, send it in to us. We're really looking forward to our next show where we'll talk about the critique of all the good work that you're doing.